Welcome to this Corpus tutorial, where I'll be going through the basics of the element editor needed to be able to follow along with the next tutorials. To enter the element editor, there needs to be an element present within the project space. For that purpose, we can either insert a new element or an element from the element base. But since this is an introductory tutorial, I'll simply insert a new element. First, I'll select the wall on which I want my elements back to snap on, use the keyboard shortcut Alt-E and press enter. The new element can be also inserted by going to the Insert tab and selecting the New Element option, while the shortcut is written on its right side. The element editor can be entered by either selecting the element and clicking on the Edit Element icon. Alternatively, we can right-click on the element and select the Edit option from the drop-down menu, or we can simply double-click on the element itself. Once within the element editor, we can rotate the element, move it around, zoom in, and zoom out again. Before I continue, I'll just change the background color to a lighter gray for better visibility. As you may have noticed, in the upper left corner there are 9 tabs. Each tab is equipped with a unique set of functions, and I'd like to start with the View tab. The first icon under the View tab is the Perspective view. Then we have the Top view, the Front view, the Right side view, the Bottom view, the Rear view, and the Left side view. The first 4 views are accessible through keyboard shortcuts. The Perspective view can be accessed by pressing the letter P, the Top view by pressing the letter T, the Front view by pressing the letter N, and the Right side view by pressing the letter B. The next 2 icons are used to incrementally zoom in and zoom out again. Then we have the Solid Wireframe view, the Wireframe view, the Edge Bands Check view, which will be explained later when we actually add some edge bands to our element, and lastly we have the Pattern view. We can alternate between the Pattern and the Wireframe view by pressing the letter W on the keyboard. The next icon is used to turn on and off the visibility of the board frames. Then we have an icon to turn on and off the visibility of the bounding box, which can be also accessed by pressing the spacebar on the keyboard. And the last icon is used to turn on and off the visibility of the dimension lines, but since there are no dimension lines present within the element editor at the moment, no change is visible by selecting it. If I rotate the element a little bit, you may notice 3 axis lines going through the element editor. The red line is the x-axis, the green line is the y-axis, and the blue line is the z-axis, while the size and visibility of the lines can be controlled within this drop-down menu. The lines can be either small, medium, big, or hidden, and I can iterate through those options by repeatedly pressing the letter A on the keyboard. On the right side of the element editor, we have the element tree. On top of the element tree, we can see the element, simply named base, and underneath it is the list of boards of which it consists of. Each board has a name and an icon. By selecting an icon of a board, we can hide or show that board. Each board can be copied, moved up and down the list by 1 position, sent straight to the top of the list, or back to the bottom, regardless of its current position within the list. Each board can be deleted, and the deletion can be undone by going to the Edit tab and selecting the Undo function. We can delete multiple boards at once by selecting them, holding down the Shift key, and either clicking on this X icon or simply pressing the Delete key on the keyboard. And this deletion can be also undone. Each board can be also renamed. Even though the name of a board can be random, it's best practice to keep the name short and descriptive. There are a few rules and suggestions for naming a board. For example, use only the letters of the English alphabet. Never use mathematical operators, commas, or full stops to separate individual words within a name. Even though you can use spaces to separate words, my suggestion would be to use underscores instead. Also, a name can never start with a number. But if a board has to be numbered, before the number you can place an underscore, and since Corpus isn't case sensitive, the case size of the letters doesn't matter. So following the previously mentioned rules, I'll rename the copied backboard to _1 example board. Under the element tree, you can see a window simply named base, named after the element. This window contains several options and functions, but the main focus are the color-coded variables height, width, and depth. Those variables control the dimensions of the bounding box, which can be seen as the green rectangular prism surrounding the element. The origin point of the bounding box, or where the values x, y, and z are equal to 0, is in its front lower left corner. For now, just remember that any number to the right, above, and in front of the origin point has a positive value, and any number to the left, under, and behind the origin point has a negative value. This concept will be easier to understand in the next tutorial, where we will move individual boards along the axis lines. The colors of the variables correspond to the colors of the axis lines. The height variable corresponds to the y-axis. The width variable corresponds to the x-axis, and the depth variable corresponds to the z-axis. Since the element and the boards within it are bound to the bounding box via expressions, by changing the dimensions of the bounding box, we consequently change the dimensions of the element itself. So, if I, for example, change the height of the bounding box, the height of the element changes along the y-axis. If I change the width of the bounding box, the width of the element changes along the x-axis. And if I change the depth of the bounding box, the depth of the element changes along the z-axis. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next tutorial.